But I'll tell you what else is fascinating. The last 2 weeks of my life. And of course, it's because I had the privilege of being on the Ghana Grand. This is a cycle tour from the north of Ghana all the way down to Accra. 1,000 kilometers. Well, in the end, a bit more than 1,000 kilometers. And it was all the brainchild of His Excellency, the British High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker. He and his team put this together, they executed it, and boy, what an event, what a revelation it was of the beauty of our nation, and of course, some of the very excellent people in it. Now today I thought, you know, we'd sit back and assess it all, see how it all went, and see what is to come in the future. So let's say good morning to my guests, and of course, His Excellency Ian Walker is here with us. What an honor, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time. Good morning.
Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. And of course with us is Dr. Ampoma. And Dr. Ampoma, of course, is the man at the top at the Kolebu Burns and Plastic Surgery Unit. And they, of course, are the beneficiaries of the fundraising aspect of the Ghana Grand Tour. Doc, what a pleasure. Last time I saw you, you were in some very, very tight riding gear. It's good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Okay. Obviously, I've got to start with you. And look, it's been 3-4 days since we got back. 4 days since we got back. How are you feeling? Having withdrawal symptoms?
I think I am actually having some withdrawal symptoms. I'm missing being on my bike for sure. But it was a fantastic kind of 10-day experience with, as you said, just seeing so many bits of the country in a very different way. And I guess all good things must come to an end, and I guess in many ways it's trying to make sure that this doesn't yet come to an end, because we've still got quite a lot more to do. The cycling bit of it is finished, but there's an awful lot more that we need to kind of get on with.
Indeed. Speaking of more to get on with, Doc, your unit is the beneficiary of almost 200,000 cedis, which is what was raised by the Ghana Grand. That must certainly be a relief to you.
Yes, in fact, first of all, let me express our gratitude to His Excellency Ian Walker and for putting all this together. In fact, if you look behind the scenes, it was quite a great logistic and also personal effort. It took really a lot out of it, because and really at the end of the day I was really knackered, you know? And I don't know how he managed to keep up this for 10 whole days, you know, and so I really it's deep. I have a deep respect for the man. And talking about the purpose of the Ghana Grand, I think this is for Burns, as Ian has said several times, as one of the neglected conditions, but it's still very prevalent in the environment, and the care of it, prevention messages and other issues related to it have been neglected for far too long. And so it was quite heartwarming when Ian said he was going to do this, but to actually watch him do it is another experience altogether, and we're really grateful for that. Absolutely.
Now, like you said, it's not over, Your Excellency. So at this point, I guess one of the next things that must happen is the Burns unit will then be the beneficiaries of this. So talk us through the processes. What happens next regarding the donation to the Burns unit?
Well, so as you said, I think we've raised about 200,000 cedis, and we're just kind of squeezing the last pips of the orange to make sure that anyone that's hoping to donate can. We've been kind of very generously donated some things, such as Michael Essien donated one of his Chelsea tops with a kind of Ghana Grand message on it. Titus Bramble, who joined us, former Premiership player, has also given us a couple of signed football shirts. So we're going to do a couple of auctions for things like that, and do a couple of smaller events between now and the next couple of months. But then after that, it's very much about then, with the monies that we have, working with Dr. Ampoma to make sure that we get the things that are most important to the unit. So that's got to happen. I think secondly, as Dr. Ampoma said, you know, one of the one of the great things about a bicycle that I didn't realise until we did this tour is that it actually it seems to have a voice. The bicycles seem to be able to speak. And one of the things you want the bicycle to say and people to hear when we've been doing this is that about burns, it's not just about the fantastic treatment or the important treatment that can be received at the burns unit, but it's about the preventative messages that are so important for people to try and make sure that they don't need to be treated, that actually some early awareness of the importance of kind of using things like gas cylinders, of keeping them properly maintained. Those things are almost more important. By the time you are, unfortunately, meeting Dr. Ampoma, of course you're very grateful for his care, but we want to try and minimise the number of people that need to get there in the first place. So if the Ghana Grant does anything, I hope it's trying to use it as a platform to say that actually we want to try and create different conversations about this kind of these kind of issues, because it's education, it's kind of sharing information that can be really important, I think. So I want that kind of stuff to continue as we go through this period between now and the acquisition. I didn't use the word procurement this morning. The acquisition of that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, JoyNews would love to be a part of that. You know, creating a platform for that awareness, you know, to be provided. Let's talk a bit about the tour itself. Let's see if we can assess, because you had three goals, if you like, three purposes you wanted to achieve. Raising funds was just one of them, and I think 200,000 cedis is a considerable amount, so I guess you've done well there. You also wanted to highlight tourism, and then you wanted to focus on the health benefits of cycling. How do you assess the success of the Ghana Grant in those areas as well?
So I think, as you said, there was three areas that we were majoring on: health, for sure, tourism, and the natural environments as the second, and the third about challenging yourself. And I think for health, raising money was an important part of this. Genuinely, more importantly, I think, is trying to change some of the conversations about health. Burns being a central one, another one being mental health. I think, as you saw on the tour in Tamale, one of the bits that really I think has left a really kind of deep mark on me was cycling with an organisation called Basic Needs Ghana, and meeting one of the guys there who had been found in the most trying, difficult of circumstances, having had what I think, if I'm no expert, what sounded like some kind of psychotic kind of episode and a very difficult part of his life, had been kind of reached out to by Basic Needs Ghana, supported, and his life had been turned around. Here was a guy who was in his late 20s, probably very little to live for, if I were to be absolutely honest, and now is married, is now has two children, and now almost serendipitously runs his own bicycle repair shop.
Can you imagine that?
And cycling with him for 10 kilometres out of Tamale was so life affirming. I can't say, and it was an example to me of, you know, in the UK, for example, there's a big conversation about developments. Does it work? Does aid work? And I firmly believe that aid does work in the right circumstances. And Basic Needs Ghana is a beneficiary of DFID funding. That's one part of it, and we want to maintain that. But actually, the success of Basic Needs Ghana are the outstanding Ghanaians that run Basic Needs Ghana in Tamale, supporting people like this. And it was truly fantastic. And I think, you know, in my role, you can sit behind a desk or you can meet people. Nothing quite replaces looking people in their eyeballs and seeing what kind of change is being affected. So changing conversations on mental health, making sure that this guy is not one guy, but it's actually that we break down these taboos, that people are not mad, they shouldn't be ostracised. You know, if you don't have your mental health, you have no health. 1 in 4 people in the world have a mental health problem at some point in their life. If it's not any of your viewers, then it's very likely someone that they know. I can say personally, I know many people that have had challenges with mental health, and I think it's breaking that taboo down and saying, do you know, it's a bit like having a broken leg. If you have a broken leg, you need to be looked after, supported, and helped to be brought back into a way that brings you fully back. And so mental health was a really big part of this experience. But so health for sure. Tourism, I hope we showed in our own small way some of the magnificent elements of this country, the culture, the scenery, the people, every place you met was just brilliant. So yeah, reluctant to say we achieved our goals. I don't think it was quite as hard-edged as that. But yeah, really, in every way, exceeded my expectations, for sure.
And of course, JoyNews will be airing a feature on the trip. So the tourism bell will be rung again and again. Right, now, Dr. Ampamo, so obviously there is a desire here to really make a difference when it comes to, first of all, how we treat burns and also how we prevent them, as His Excellency has pointed out. Now, tell us in particular what some of the real challenges are from your end, where your job is to actually bring people through the healing process when they've been victims of burns.
Yeah, okay, like has been rightly stated, we have a very high incidence of burns in this country. And if you look in the statistics across the world, you find that about 80 to 90% of burns occur in low and middle income countries. Right. And then we also account for about 90% to 95% of the deaths that occur from burns, which are in the region of about 300,000 every year. You know, so this is quite a big statistics, but unfortunately, it looks like we're looking at malaria and other things, so our eyes have been taken off the ball. But these are very preventable conditions, and just the right amount of public education, etc., can prevent burns. And if you look at our entire educational system, you can go from kindergarten right through to university, postgraduate, and not even have a single talk or a single lecture on burn prevention or first aid or safety. So basically what it means is that as a country in general, we do not take safety, health and safety very serious. But these are things that can actually save us money, because as Ian rightly said, we do not want to see that many burn cases. And the other countries that have succeeded is because there's been a deliberate effort right from regulation, education, like even making sure that even the whole value chain, there's prevention at all levels. So even if we talk of basically, even from the way we build our houses, from the kind of material we use for houses, the kind of material we use for our wiring, the standards. We are supposed to be using British standards, but you can go around and you see what kind of wires we use. Inferior quality material. So, of course, all these fires happen. People are using gas cylinders. In fact, it will be political season next year. Our politicians will go around actually distributing gas cylinders, free to people.
Branded.
Exactly, branded gas cylinders. And there's no education about how to use it safely. So literally what has happened is that people are carrying bombs into their homes, and then they just end up blowing up themselves and their families, and then we have to pick up the pieces. Our filling stations, we talked about, when the cycle disaster happened, there was a lot of talk about safety at our filling stations. In fact, we have started talking about health and safety even with gas to filling stations several years ago, and we were thought to be crying wolf. And then and I did make a statement in the public platform that a lot of these filling stations are disasters waiting to happen. Now, it took the circle disaster and the atomic disaster for an audit, safety audit, to be made. And then they found out that more than 80% of the gas stations did not meet the safety requirements. So these are things that we see from our end, and it's something that is easily preventable with the right amount of political will and the right collaboration and between education and the regulatory bodies. I think a lot can be achieved to prevent burns from happening.
Yeah, we need to have a series of conversations about this, because you're absolutely right. We're putting so many people at risk. Now, let me ask you this, Your Excellency. Your aim was to see Ghana, and you really did. You saw what's beautiful about Ghana, and you also saw what was a bit challenging. The first challenge came even before the Ghana Grand ride began, when you had to wade through that water, an image that now everybody has seen. But that was just the first of our experience of, poor roads, poor infrastructure, which unfortunately we did see a bit of on this tour. Tell me how all of this struck you, if you will.
So, I think the central, if I was to distill the single reason for wanting to do the Ghana Grand, it was really about meeting people and about seeing people in their own communities. And as I said beforehand, it was about seeing people not through the window of a 4x4 as you kind of whiz past, but to kind of just gradually go through and slowly on a bicycle. So you definitely see things and feel things entirely differently. It's been a completely different experience from anything that I've had since I've been here. And I guess inevitably when you do that, you see things that are very good and things that clearly do. You can see why people are asking for, or agitating for some change. And I think, as you mentioned, just before the start line, the flooded Bagre Dam River was a really interesting start. And the two things struck me about that. One was that this happens twice a year. The local set happened twice a year, and it was quite surprising to me that scale of thing can block what is the main Upper East to Upper West road. But what also really struck me was how incredibly helpful the local community were to us. And I thought, crikey, we're on a cycle trip. If we don't start until tomorrow, the world will carry on spinning. If we get delayed by 2 days, it'll be an inconvenience. But what was more of a problem was a woman who was trying to get to hospital, who had to then drive round the other way. It was people who were trying to get their goods to market, who were depending on it for their livelihood. So I was really struck, at how some little things can make such a big difference. And I could have, again, seen that on a map before and read about it, but seeing it was really quite striking. And I think the solution in that specific instance is not a particularly complex one. And it's interesting. I think it was interesting to see that, sorry as I was for those that are affected by it. But that was a challenge. Interestingly for me, we talked a bit about the roads, and there were some roads that weren't so good. The Hahoy to Jassakan road was not so good, but there were very many really good roads.
Yes.
I mean, cycling from Wa down to Sola, all the way to Tamale, the road was fantastic. The road down through much of Volta was also excellent, and I think it's inevitable. We in the UK always critique ourselves, Ghanaians. I think are very self-critical. Actually, when you talk about things like tourism, some of the roads there were absolutely outstanding for cycling, for visitors to come and see. And if for example, you're trying to attract visitors to come and see Vlee Falls or to come and see Afajatua, for example, I don't think there's a massive infrastructure bill to try and make that possible. And I hadn't been before, and in my head I'd imagined the roads would be a lot worse actually than they were, and the roads were really pretty good. So yeah, I was kind of struck by the kind of perception versus reality. Yes, there were challenges, and there were real challenges, but actually, for large parts of it, the roads, for example, were actually surprisingly good.
Yeah. Now, I put something together. I haven't seen it yet myself, but this is a quick summary, if you will. Somebody has run very quickly through the 10 days that we spent on the road. Let's have a quick look at it. This is a game for the visually impaired.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And they're off. The two riders who are going to make the 1,000-kilometer journey. together, we are all going to cross the 500-kilometer mark. And what a moment of celebration that will be.
I'm gonna send into outer space, find another race. I'm gonna send into outer space, find another race. I'm gonna send into outer space, find another race. I'm gonna send into outer space, find another race. I'm gonna send into outer space.
One, and they're off. It's the very final leg of the Ghana Grand. "1,000 kilometers of relentless pedaling by the British High Commissioner and his riding partner, Joe Downham. They have just crossed the finish line. I think it's my turn to cross the finish line. I do that with pride and honor. The Ghana Grand comes to a triumphant end here at the Independence Square.
Pay close attention. Pay close attention.
And that's how it all unfolded, right? Feel like you've just relived it all.
Yeah, I went a bit quicker that time.
Yeah. It looked easier too, yeah. But I've got to say, personally, it's been quite an experience. This is an opportunity I'm glad I was there for. And I think it's a great example of how diplomacy can be active and certainly make an impact in the community. So what's the next adventure, I wonder?
That's a good question. Yeah, I've been thinking about that as well. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm sure there will be. Sure there will be more. Definitely want to kind of, land and really focus on making sure we complete this, because I think I do feel some conversations have changed a little bit, and I really want to try and encourage that to happen more. It was a phenomenal privilege to experience the country in that way, and I think from the kind of the outpouring of messages I've received from many people is that they would love to do the same. And I think, well, we've got to find a way of helping them do the same, because actually Ghana is a seriously beautiful country, and yeah, it was a tremendous honour. But more than that, it was fantastic fun. It was
No
really
doubt.
good fun.
No doubt, and you need to join from the beginning next time.
Yes.
But I want to say a big thank you to both of you for making the time to be with us this morning, and of course we'll keep working with you both to see how we can push this all-important message that the Ghana Grant has started. Right, well, it's time for Showbiz. It's coming your way in just a moment, thanks to Awake Purified Water. Stay there. We're back at the other side of these.